Great. Well, thank you so much, Evan, for taking the time today. I got to watch the film for the first time yesterday, and I had such a fun time with it. And
Thank you.
I was wondering, I know primarily you've been a writer up until now, doing everything from Beauty and the Beast to Charlie's Angels. So when it came to taking that step to being a director, what made you choose a horror film?
First of all, I did not want to take that step to become a director. I I had seen everything that directors go through in my entire career, and I was like, no, the hell with that. But I read James Herbert's great book Shrine when I was 13, and I was a little film buff back then. I kind of saw it as a mix of The Exorcist and Billy Wilder's Ace in the Hole. Which is about a journalist, more of a corrupt journalist who kind of screws over a small town with his lies and his personal agenda. And as my career in the film business advanced and I became a writer and studios seemed to like me, I would carry the book around and say, please, who will adopt this orphan child for me? And Screen Gems finally stepped in 2018, but they made me the offer to direct it. And the reason they did that is because they had just had a regime change where their new agenda was they had had kind of bad luck with like music video directors and commercial directors who had never made a film before because they would shoot great stuff in like 10-second increments, but wouldn't really assemble a narrative. So they were like, well, let's start giving some writers a chance. And my team said yes for me. So, and I figured, well, at some point, somebody's going to say, he's nuts, let's bring in an adult. But they didn't. And then when they paired me off with Sam Raimi, I was like, this might actually work because Sam's a movie god. He's the nicest person imaginable. So he kind of held my hand throughout the process. But long-winded way of saying, I actually love horror movies. So despite all my Disney stuff, horror movies were my first love, so I wanted to make one.
Oh, well, that's awesome. And you mentioned Sam, and as you said, he is a legend in the
Yeah.
filmmaking world, particularly with horror. So, what would you say the best advice you got from him was while you were working with him as a producer on this film?
So it's absolutely that pre-production is when you still have the ability to make mistakes. Now that I've done it, I cannot stress to any aspiring filmmakers out there how important pre-production is. Like that's the time you get to, with any luck, rehearse your actors. But even if you don't have that option, rehearse because sometimes they show up, the schedules are jammed, so they show up the day of. But rehearse your camera moves. Make sure you've got all your scenes pre-blocked in the locations that you're going to use. Experiment as much as possible with your visual effects and your makeup effects because those are going to take time. So rehearse that makeup team to already get them going as fast as possible. The pre-production period for our film, we shot it in 2 stages, which we will get to, but the normal pre-production was 2 months. And in that time, we were able to prepare ourselves so that when we showed up that first day of production and we started with the third act, the big tent scene, that was our first thing was 500 extras and boom, off you go. What got us through it was we knew exactly what we were doing, and there was no on the spot of, wouldn't it be interesting if the camera came down like this? Rearrange all the lighting for it. So that was his greatest advice.
Yeah, fantastic. And this is a very scary movie. And I have to ask, now that you've directed a horror movie, what do you think the secret is to perfecting those really great jump scares that can take the audience by surprise without them knowing it's coming?
It's a couple of things. It's first of all, for me, my favorite jump scare in the movie is actually the first one, where Finn is driving in the middle of the road and suddenly there's Alice standing in front of him. And we actually got to that through a process. I had scripted it differently. There was a whole gag where that bottle of booze falls off on the seat next to him and he's searching and the camera goes under the seat and then he looks up and there she is. And everybody had read the script in our team. So they were like, it happens. And then we were like, shit, the team has to be startled. And so without telling anybody, we cut the gag with a bottle. I mean, it falls, but it's just this move, and then he looks in front of him. And when we scared the team, we knew we had a good jump scare because the audience truly wouldn't be expecting it. But I will say the other big secret about scares is the sound. It's actually silence. It's actually playing with audience expectations of when the music is climbing or when the sound completely drops away. You know something's going to happen there. And it's always second guessing them like, are you expecting it when the sound goes away? Are you expecting it when the sound is climbing? And it's playing that a couple of times, doing it in different ways throughout the film.
Awesome. And we've seen a lot of horror antagonists over the years of all different varieties.
Yes.
But Mary is unique. She isn't like something we've seen before. But how challenging is that for you to come up with a new creation like that without being too inspired by this, that, or the other?
It was very easy because I based it in James Herbert's book. But I will say, thank you for saying that, because we're very proud of Mary. And one of the reasons we're proud of her is because, you go see a ghost story, right? And the ghost agenda usually isn't more than, you entered my house, I will kill you. Or you broke my curse, I will kill you. You did something to me, I will kill you. It's very simple. They're more forces of nature, really, like the ghosts in the ring, the ghost in the ring, and the ghost in what's the other Sam movie? The remake, the Japanese remake, the Grudge, the Ghost in the Grudge. Hey, their agenda doesn't go beyond, you offended this, I will now kill you. Mary is a thoroughly intelligent creature. She actually has a broad, wide-ranging agenda of, I will use this modern world social media to claim as many souls as possible. And not only, I'm not going to kill them necessarily, I'm going to corrupt them to the point that I'm going to damn them for all eternity. That's a pretty complex plan for a supernatural entity. And we were very happy with that. She's like a Bond villain for ghost stories.
Absolutely. And we're so used to these days with horror films and becoming franchises quite quickly. But
Yes.
when you were approaching this one, did you think of including any sort of post-credit scene to set something up, or did
No,
you approach it as a standalone story?
absolutely approach it as a standalone story. In fact, I will tell you, since you've seen the movie, the little tag at the end was a post-production invention. My movie ended with them at the churchyard going, "It's over." So, so no. For me, it's a very self-contained movie. If the miracle happens and the studio comes back and orders a sequel, more power to them. But it is a self-contained story.
Yeah, and I've read online that you had to halt filming because of COVID last year.
Yes.
So, how much of an effect did that have on what we end up seeing in the film? Because I certainly didn't watch the film thinking, oh, they look like they're socially distancing, but I'm guessing you maybe had to take that into account.
It was a nightmare. So what happened was our original production schedule was a 7-week shoot. We shot 4 weeks, February through mid-March. Mid-March, we had to shut down. We all came home, and we had that rare opportunity in a film production to actually take the footage we had shot in the first half of filming, assemble it, show it to the studio, figure out the pacing and all that. And the studio really liked it. So they were like, no, they could take a write-off because frankly, our collective budget was probably the catering budget on Spider-Man. So they could easily have gone, okay, it's a tax write-off. But no, they wanted to finish the movie. They felt we had something. So we waited. The whole movie was shot in Massachusetts. So we waited until the CDC of Massachusetts gave the go-ahead for movies to be shot again. And that happened in September. So we basically, March through September, we were cutting. And once we finished cutting, twirling our thumbs. We went back in September and shot mid-September through mid-October. The studio was kind enough to extend our shoot because part of the approval to get the CDC to let us shoot was fewer hours, which immediately meant cumulatively your fewer hours are costing you a day, a second day, and all that kind of stuff. And in between every scene, we had to hose down the set with antiseptic spray, which took about 10 minutes, which doesn't sound like much, except it's happening after each scene is completed. So that adds 2 hours. So again, that adds a day. So they extended our shoot by a full week. In addition, they give us a second unit crew, which we didn't. In the first half of production, I was shooting everything. The second half, any extras were shot by the second unit crew. Any specific visual effect shot, second unit crew. Now for the extras, we couldn't have any extras. So remember when I said we shot the third act 10 scene at the beginning? Thank goodness we did. Because there was no way, I would have to we either wouldn't finish or would have had to rewrite the ending for our characters are trapped in the church and she's picking them off one by one or something. The rule was you could have 10 extras indoors, 10, but they had to be socially distanced. Or if each 3 could be family members, so you could get 3 families of 9 people plus 1. And then those 3 families had to be socially distanced. So I will confess something. The funeral scene, Father Hagen's funeral, if you pause when it comes out on Blu-ray, it's the same 10 people over and over and over in that funeral scene. We would shoot them, change their clothes, move them around, shoot them, change the clothes, move them around. And that's the second unit did that because if I had done that, that would have been another day.
Incredible. And one final question for you. I have to ask you while I have you. I mentioned Beauty and the Beast
Mm,
earlier. Obviously, there's the spin-off series, the prequel
yes,
coming to Disney Plus. And
yes.
I was wondering, are you involved with that at all? Writer, director? Have you been consulted? And would you like to be?
Oh, I would have certainly liked to be, but this is actually very much a brainchild of Luke Evans and Josh Gad, who got along famously and fantastically on set. They got along; they're best buddies now, and they had a twisted idea about what the prequel adventures of Gaston and LeFou might have been. So it really is. It generated from them. So they are the showrunners of the thing. I'm looking forward to watching it. I've got my Disney Plus ready.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Evan. It was
Thank
great
you.
to speak to you. Really enjoyed the film. I hope we can chat again soon.
Oh, me too. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Thanks
You
so
too.
much.
Bye bye.